All right, what we got? Everybody's mad about Soulframe. What up?
I've been keeping my eye on this one since it was first revealed a couple years ago. It's the new upcoming game from Warframe developer Digital Extremes. I've had a lot of hope for this title as someone
Mm-hmm.
who's played Warframe on and off over the years,
Yeah.
starting when it first entered beta way back in 2013. Watching
Okay, so I didn't start Warframe until like way the fuck later. I wasn't in the beta or anything like that. What's my account level? It's what is it? I think mine's like 13, 14, 15-ish, something like that. I played like some Warframe, but I'm not like an expert at it by any means. I really like the movement in it. I really like the customization that you have within the game. I'm not too much a fan of the grinding and whatnot, but I mean, I understand it's part of the game. But, the core gameplay of Warframe, I think is pretty good.
that game evolve and grow, seeing how they've supported it over time, continuously adding new content for free, and probably most importantly, just the fact that whenever I revisit the game, I have a good week or two of fun checking out all of that new free content. Outside of
Yeah.
a few long-standing MMOs, Warframe has been one of the most consistent games providing me entertainment over this past decade. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
they announced that they were making a
Anytime I take a break from Warframe and I go back, there's like a new mode that they made for the game. Like the core game is like you're in your frame and you're just like moving along. You're shooting guys, you're like meleeing guys, and it's a looter shooter essentially. You're grinding, you're farming resources, and you can pick your favorite Warframe and just do that. That's the core. Now, there's so much shit in Warframe. It's crazy. What else? You can fish. There's like skateboards. There's air ship to ship aerial space combat. There's the Arcwing, which is just like a, I don't know. You go into like this little open world thing, and it's like a little. Well, it's not little, but it's like a booster pack thing that you can just like fly around in. And there's a what do you call it? There's like a roguelike mode in there. Uh, there's just so much shit crammed inside of Warframe over the years. It's crazy.
new game that was sort of like the inverse of Warframe in terms of its tone, setting, and gameplay, while still also leaning into their strengths as a developer, yeah, that got me interested. You'll no doubt see and feel some similarities between the two. There is certainly visual and style through lines, but there's also quite a bit different. Warframe is sci-fi, Soulframe is fantasy. Warframe is a lobby-based multiplayer game.
Yeah, Warframe is space ninjas. Period. Space ninja.
Soulframe will be more open, shared world.
I think Soulframe is like Space Ninja before they went to space. So it's just like Earth Ninja, but still within the Warframe universe. Because you can tell by his armor alone and his weapon and how he moves. It's like still within like the Warframe universe.
Almost MMO light. Warframe's combat is fast-paced, twitchy, and focused on shooting, whereas Soulframe's combat is going to be slower, more heavy, and focused on melee and magic. And topping it all off is the fact that Soulframe leans into this whole like one with nature, friends of the animals, Princess Mononoke-inspired setting and world, which I really, really dig.
I mean, that's fine. This isn't like a huge selling point for me. It's like, I mean, with Elden Ring, you got your little horsey, and everybody knows the first time you jumped on that horse and you felt the extreme freedom of movement that you got jumping on that horse, everyone was like, oh shit, this feels good. You got a double jump. You can do like multiple 360s in the air. You got so much control with your little horsey. This is awesome. And I would assume probably something similar with this like White Wolf thing.
All of this just kind of results in a game that I am primed to enjoy. Like, I am ready. I am amped up to get into Soulframe. So when DE revealed that they would have this big showcase event hosting Soulframe's first official developer live stream at this year's TennoCon, dude, I was pumped, and I thought surely everyone else is gonna be pumped either. We're all gonna be super excited to get this like new fresh look at Soulframe. This game's coming out soon, right? Everyone's gonna be excited, hyped, super pumped for this game. Well, that's not exactly what happened. In fact, after the reveal of this new extended gameplay footage, many people were very much not pumped, quite the opposite, in fact. In just about every discussion thread that I read online, the comment sections were all predominantly negative. And the gameplay video itself was not only full of negative comments, but also sits at nearly a 50% dislike ratio. Now,
which isn't the worst, but it's not the best either. Generally, when you watch like the YouTube videos, and the games that really pop off, it's like for every 10,000 up thumbs, there's like maybe 50 down thumbs or something like that. To have like a 50-50 ratio, it's not the worst thing. It's just like, it needs more polish. So saying that everybody's mad about it is like, I mean, that's just what I think. It needs more polish. It needs more time in the oven. It needs more time to cook.
Even assuming that there's like a bias towards dislikes from the people who will download a extension for Chrome that shows YouTube dislikes, I can tell you from my own channel, from my own experience, that it's never that far off. Like maybe it's off by a few percentage points, but not very much. It's typically in line with what the actual video stats are in terms of what you see in the extension, at least from my own experience from my own channel. So what is everyone so upset about? Well, pretty much the gameplay. Almost
the core gameplay.
Universally, the complaints boil down to the look of the game. Here's some examples. I really hope this is still in very early development. The fighting and combat looks very rough. This can't be released with the current animations. They are honestly extremely subpar and thoroughly unenjoyable. Really digging the knife there. So basically, Warframe devs don't know how to do melee combat, question mark.
Well, here's the thing. And I'm not about to defend Soulframe, but Soulframe, the core concept of Soulframe is already in the game of Warframe. There is already a main quest that you go through, and I just got done with it recently, where you're like your main guy. Well, spoilers if you don't know. Spoiler warning. There's like a human inside the frame, and what you click on like the main quest, and then you like depart on it, and it takes you into a story mode, and the person is like a kid in normal time, but like when you go into the quest, your dude ages until he's like, I don't know, like 30 something, and you play as your main character in the quest, and in there you don't there are parts where you have your frame, but for the most part, you don't have your frame. You're just normal guy, normal combat and stuff like that. There's no bullet jumping or... Yes, I think you can like slide to like gain a little momentum, but you can't like bullet jump afterward. You do have like a dodge. What else? You have like a couple... you actually have like a couple movement options. You have like a jump, and you actually, I really like the mount in this, like in that side quest or whatever. You get like a horse, and then if you double jump, it turns into a Pegasus type of thing, and you could just fly anywhere on the map, which I think is cool as fuck. You have like a hold to sprint mechanic. What else? There's like a couple other like combat mechanics, but when you go into this quest, you don't have like the fluid of like motion of like normal Warframe gameplay of bullet jump, and like what's like the slowdown time when like you jump and then you like aim down sight and you like slow down everything. I forgot what the term was.
Personally made me chuckle a bit was this one that said, imagine being watched by all your ancestors just to miss that backstab with that animation, which is referring to one of the very first moments of combat actually showcased in the recent video, where the character goes up for the backstab and completely misses the target. Now the animation...
Wait.
he misses the target.
Yeah. I mean, there's no like, I can't really defend this or whatever, but this is like a small little animation thing. Honestly, they're probably using this as like a placeholder, and I don't even know if they're gonna fix this as like a backstab, standard backstab animation for like most weapons that you can already backstab with in the game when you like sneak up on an enemy and just do this animation. I mean, I get it if that's what they were doing. They're just like cobbling together like a little demo piece or a little playable thing without putting a lot of effort into like the new, like the Soulframe specific animations. Because I'm not entirely sure, but I think you could probably go into Warframe right now, and this would be like the normal Warframe backstab animation.
Target. Now the animation starts fine, but then the sword somehow ends up far away from where it's supposed to be, not in the back, but to the side of.
Which is kind of crazy to think that, like, a lot of critiques are like animations. Well, and then we will soon see. There's some like movement things that people are complaining about, but the fine tune animations that are like one of the main things that everyone is saying. And I think that's good because it doesn't let game developers get away with doing shitty animations. Part of the appeal for the Souls genre, part of the appeal of that is having crispy animations, sharp hitboxes. Everything is well defined. There's no like hitboxes that extend past like what you actually see on like a sword or something. There's not like a lagging hitbox behind. There's no disjointed hitbox that, you know, even though the sword is this big, the hitbox is that big. Like there's very little of that going on in most Souls-like games. So they hopefully should understand that. And if they can tighten some of these things up, I think it'll, you know, there'll be like a more positive reception for the game.
Of the character, and that's just the start of things, really. Now, I gotta say, after watching back this showcase several times, I don't think these complaints are unjustified at all. Parts of the
another thing, another complaint, I think, is the insane use of lens flares. Now, granted, knee-jerk reaction, it's like, oh wow, cool, the dude is summoning lightning. The lightning looks cool, and he's like going in with body, and he's like looks like a goddamn light bulb, but like, from a player perspective, it's like, I'm getting goddamn flashbanged. Like, what's going on? Huh?
combat and character movement in particular.
Like, granted, all of these sparks and like lightnings, they look cool. That's cool. But like, you see like this little part, this like lens flare. Like, I don't know about that part. Like you gotta turn up. Do you need to turn the brightness up to like maximum? Like right here. Like I get it. It's like lightning. Lightning's very blinding. But could you like tone this part down?
Particular do look pretty rough. Now it's not all bad, but enough of it is clearly bad that it's worth mentioning by quite a few people because there's been quite a lot of complaining and the video has about 50% dislike ratio.
Yeah.
So here's some examples of, I think, the things that stood out the most to me where I think a lot of the criticism is coming from. So right away, you've got that very first encounter, right? The character goes up, they
Like right there, this move. Like you blind yourself, healing yourself.
50% dislike ratio. So here's some examples of, I think, the things that stood out the most to me where I think a lot of the criticism is coming from. So right away, you've got that very first encounter.
Okay, he winds that shit up. Here, let me playback speed quarter. Mute. He does the thing. What the fuck is happening? Look at this. Do I need to be fucking flashbanging myself? Plus 100 Arcanics. I don't know what that is. Whatever. But when it's like you have to flashbang yourself to heal? Come on, guys. You know better. All right? Like, come on. Okay, let me turn this back normal.
The character goes up, they go into a stealth animation, they sneak around the back of this group, goes in for the backstab.
And it's like you just get done flashbanging yourself, and then logically you would think, oh, that's bright as fuck. These guys don't even see it. They just don't.
And it does connect, mind you. You can see it. The NPC reacts and the NPC loses health, but then the animation just completely...
Oh, and he didn't lose a lot of health, really.
You can see it. The NPC reacts and the NPC loses health, but then the
97. Level 12. You took like about half if they're doing that Skyrim style like health bar of like you take like a normal health bar, it goes from like one side to other. Like with the Skyrim health bar, you take that and then you mirror it on the other side, and then you get two sides of the health bar going towards the center. It looks like he took like half-ish damage for a backstab, but I mean, whether or not you think a backstab should be like an insta-kill or like just a massive chunk of damage, I don't know, you could probably argue that.
Animation just completely whiffs it, like ending up beside its target rather than inside of the back of its target. I don't know how how this happened, but it did, right? So completely whiffed backstab animation. Okay. Shortly after that, we then see the character do this dodge roll, and there seems to be a sliding of like a...
Yeah, the sliding. This is like a point of major criticism within the movement of the game.
Few extra meters further beyond the distance of the actual roll animation itself, as if the
he's gonna slow down.
It's like gliding on ice. The whole thing feels off, and there are moments like this all throughout the video where
my boy has Commando Pro on when he goes in for an attack. He's like, he just teleports there. He just goes in. Yeah, like the whole sliding thing. Again, I will repeat this. Conceptually, Soulframe is already in the game Warframe. It's already in there. And there are a couple other mechanics. I think you can parry. I think you can block. I think you can parry. I think you can like attack off of a parry. And then I think there's like some other mechanic where you can like cancel out moves if like a certain color of a glow pops up and it's like an unblockable. You have to do like a certain other mechanic to like stop the unblockable or to like interrupt it or some shit. The core mechanics conceptually are there. And like whenever I played it in Warframe, it was pretty forgiving. The whole thing with the sliding is it's Warframe movement. It's literally just Warframe movement, but without all of the momentum and velocity preservation. They literally just took what is it? Not the dodge, because you do gain momentum off the dodge, as you just clearly saw. But normally, if you're a Warframe player, your next initial thing, I mean, not after the dodge, but like whenever you like slide, is to immediately just like slam your space button and to go into that like bullet jump to like gain a shitload of momentum. I mean, and then even when you do dodge, you do gain a little bit momentum, but it's always like a static amount. It's always like the same amount. You can't like preserve momentum off of a dodge. It's always so that's why it's so good. Well, it's not so good, but like if your velocity is 0, dodging is always static. Like you'll always gain the same amount of momentum off of a dodge. But there's no like bullet jump to like continue the core like movement loop of slide bullet jump roll or something like that. The sliding, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of other Souls-like games, I don't think really any of them have this type of movement in the game to where your character is like what is it? You know how like in what is it? Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or Super Smash Bros. Melee, there's a mechanic called wave dashing. And essentially what wave dashing is you do like your normal dash. Like your character will go into like a dash animation, and you can cancel out of it by just crouching. But when you crouch, your character will preserve the momentum gained off of the initial dash, so you can do a normal, like a move or something. So the image that you see as a player is like this character, like sliding around, like you see like right here. So this like wave dashing type thing is probably more acceptable within like the fighting game community, and probably not so acceptable within the Souls community. Because if you look at what I was going for before, is like if you look at all of the Souls games, there's like no implementation, almost none, if any, of any wave dashing type mechanics. There is dodging, and there may be sprinting, but nothing that really preserves momentum or velocity or transfers it in terms of like character states, like jump or like standing, crouching, or anything like that. So that's why it's so jarring looking. But I guarantee you this probably feels good. This is probably like, it feels good to play in terms of like freedom of motion. Like you're not so bogged down by like the animations. You're not animation locked. However, it is jarring to look at if you've never really seen like a character like slide around like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Movement looks very floaty. The character is sliding around, and so are enemy NPCs.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably one of the primary points where the complaints about gameplay is stemming from. Something about how the character and the enemies move at times feels incredibly disconnected from the environment. There's like a lack of groundedness to the whole thing. But you know what this
lack of groundedness. Yep. That's what I said. I guarantee you, if you were to play it, you'd be like, oh wow, this feels pretty good. But it looks like shit. The fact that you can like double jump into like some bow and arrow shit, me personally, I think that's pretty cool. But compared to like a lot of other grounded Souls-like games, I don't think you've ever been able to like double jump into like an arrow shot or a melee shot when in like normal melee combat with anything. And, you know, this is even with considering that, okay, I'll say it like this. Within like the Souls-like game genre, you know, this is a very like amorphous type of thing. You have like your one guy, normal, conventional, you know, physics, like Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, fucking the Elden Ring, what else? Bloodborne, Neo, what else? There's a couple other games, but you know, pick your poison. You have like normal guy, normal physics, and then on the opposite side, you have something like Armored Core 6. You got a lot of movement in that game, all right? You can, a lot of dashing, you know, left and right, forward, backward. You can thrust, you can hover, all this other shit. A lot of movement options in that game. I think Soulframe is like a step or two, maybe probably like a step towards, what do you call it? Armored Core 6. It's like a one section over with the amount of movement options. But, you know, if you just like knee-jerk look at the game, it's like, oh, normal guy, normal physics. That's what you see and what you think initially. But then when you see the character like double jump, fucking hang time, arrow, headshot, Robin Hood, or dodge, glide, you know, you're sliding around on dirt. It doesn't like logically make sense. It's understandable.
This movement reminds me almost exactly of Warframe.
Warframe.
Surprise, surprise. This sliding movement of the character looks and feels almost identical to what you see in Warframe. I just think that it doesn't much matter to people in that game since the pace.
I would say if you like Warframe, but you're also kind of interested in Souls games, and you liked that little section of Warframe where you go like, and it's like kind of realistic and whatnot, then this is just like an easy, a natural transition into Soulframe. Trying to get a lot of the people that play Souls-like games into the physics slash what do you call it, environment area, the universe, the world of Warframe through Soulframe, it's probably going to be like a little jarring because you're not used to this movement system. Plus with like kind of the weird animations where it's like your guy's this way and then he just like does a 180 instantly.
Pacing of the movement is so fast. Your character sliding, double jumping, flying through the air at high velocity, rolling all over the place, doing ninja moves off of the environment, sprinting, dashing, dodging everywhere. Just the speed of that game is so quick that this sort of gliding and the floatiness is almost a feature of the movement, not a problem with it. But
and it feels good too.
This slower paced setting, sliding all over the place far beyond where the animations would naturally place the character, it does look very out of place. It just looks bad. And again, I think this is where a lot of the criticism and complaints about this doesn't look good. I think a lot of it is stemming from that. But
I think a lot of the people that down thumb the video have probably not played Warframe, and probably the people that up thumb the video have probably played Warframe. So that's just my guess.
That's not everything. There were a few other parts of the gameplay sequence that looked off-putting that I think are also raising a lot of criticism. In the player's first encounter with the boss Nimrod, we see them do a double jump and fire off a bow attack from mid-air. Now, after landing, all of a sudden the camera...
If you know anything about... Oh god, and I paused it at like such a time. Like, look at this. This is egregious by anybody's standards. Like, knee jerk, it looks cool to be like, oh yeah, fucking, oh, power concentrated in the image of a shiny X. That's badass. This has gotta be like a super move or some shit about to fucking come out and just hit this dude in the domski. But this is kind of like a lot of visual clutter because the image of this lens flare just is in the foreground of literally everything. And I'm all for like having a game like look nice with like special effects and sparks and explosions and all that shit, but this seems a little like egregious. This is like a very big offender of just I forgot what I was going to say before before this damn fucking lens flare came up. But no. If you've played Souls-like games, you know a very powerful thing that you can do, and all the movement options that you have within like Souls-like games, the more movement you have, the more overpowered you are, really, because a boss has only like so many movement options, so many moves. If you can like dodge roll and like slide a little, if you can double jump, those are like very powerful movement options.
Is just right up on the player, like allowing for barely any awareness of...
Like, look at the lens flares. Like,
it's just right...
Bang! I mean, it looks cool. I'm gonna repeat this. It looks cool, like, as a one-time, but if I'm playing, like, every enemy has got to be a fucking Michael Bay Transformers explosion extravaganza, it's like, I'm not really about it.
Up on the player.
And look at that. He summons the energy and it's like goes through the staff. It goes about to hit the ground.
Or like
bang!
Going for barely any...
Does it again.
Any awareness.
Bang! Like, let me see if I can concentrate on that frame. Subtitle, playback. 25. Go. Oof. Big bright ball of sun right there. Bang! Another one. Lightning, cool, sparks. The third one. Kablooey. You're shaking the screen on top of it. On top of it, you're shaking the screen. I'm being flashbanged multiple times. And I am about to be teleported up from Scotty. Scotty, beam me up. Look at this damn thing. We have the entire spectrum of the rainbow. You got the white in the center. You got some like pink stuff, maybe some red stuff, maybe some purple right here. You got some blue stuff. You got some green stuff on both sides. Your screen is shaking. You have motion blur on, and you have this like all these sparks coming out of the ground. Like, look at all these sparks. Like, neat. Like, this is fine for like a once thing, but like, god damn, if you're not like, if your vision isn't like jarred from this, it's just like, what's going on? Okay, that's enough bitching.
Awareness of the surroundings to the point where the player then gets struck by this lightning attack that they couldn't see. And
oh yeah. So there's a mechanic like this in Monster Hunter World, and it's that damn. And plus, again, let me see if I can go back.
The surroundings to the point where the player then gets struck by this.
Let me see if I can freeze it.
Lightning attack that they could.
What is this? I'm getting flashbanged and damaged. And the screen is shaking to shit, I bet. And if I don't even know, did I get hit? Did I get knocked down? I am also knocked down. I am blinded. I am knocked down. My health is down. My screen is shaking. I'm confused. This move is too egregious. But
Couldn't see in time.
Okay, maybe I'm not knocked down. Whatever. I'm just going to crouch it off. But this move exists already in... If you played Monster Hunter World, Kieran, the lightning unicorn, does this type of move. There is like a slight tell in where she's going to do it because the ground lights up first and then the lightning comes down. However, I didn't really see a tell that lightning was about to come straight down. So, yeah, I think like a lot of these like cool moves, you got to give a tell. Let the player be able to see like the move that's coming out. At least for the most part, there's probably like a couple instances where you could probably throw in some like cheap ass, stupid ass moves or whatever. I don't know. We could have like a back and forth on it if you want, but like you need to give the player at least something to dodge, because that lightning thing, like what you could have done is like, you see all these sparks right here. These are like aftermath sparks, like bang. What you could have done is like light up the ground, have all the area sparks, you know, like static electricity, go like start flying towards like the spot where the lightning is gonna hit, and then it's like you do like a 3-second animation. You go like 3, 2, 1, then the lightning. But this bullshit of just like bang, instant damage. Well, where did it fucking come from? It came up. You know, gamers hate looking up, man. You know, gamers hate looking up. Gamers do not look up. All right, and then when you put stuff up there, it feels fucking dog shit because you're already concentrated on the boss, trying to keep the boss at the center of the screen. Now you want me to look up for shit? Come on. Who play tested this?
Time because that camera was so close. What I don't know here though,
the close cam. Yeah, like let me like zoom this shit out, man. You gotta have that in the game. Like you could do it a little bit in Monster Hunter, like zoom the camera out a little bit, but even then, I would say let me zoom that shit out a little bit. Like I don't buy this whole like it's for immersion. Well, if I want it to be fucking immersed, why isn't it fucking first person? All right? Why isn't it first person? That's more immersive. Okay? If we're not doing that, if there's not like a first person option, let me zoom out a little bit more, because this feels like about a third, well not a third, but like about a fourth of the screen is like just the character. So you got about a quarter of the screen right here, and a quarter of the screen you have to have the boss somewhere like in the screen. So that's there. So then what's left? You have to have like a little bit of room over there to see like what's going on left and right, a little bit of room over there to see what's going on left and right. And if the boss is doing mechanics anywhere else besides these two spots, it feels like the player can't like outplay any of the mechanics, especially this lightning stuff that just like pops you in your dome.
Is if this camera distance was actually moved by the player, the person controlling the character, to try to like highlight the boss animations for the showcase, which is entirely possible, or if this camera closeness was automated by the game when the player target locked onto the boss.
Yeah.
If it is the latter, that is no good. It is way too close, and they need
Yeah.
to pull this thing back a bit, because you can't not
Pull it
see
back.
like your surroundings and get struck by lightning because of it. That's not great, especially if most of the time you can be a bit further back. Also, during parts of this sequence and following encounters with the boss, it's just hard to make out what's even happening. Now, that is partially because the camera is so close, but then also you've got things like the fog, the haze.
Yeah, like why is the camera shaking? The camera is literally shaking from like recoil of the character being hit. That don't give me this fucking immersion. It's for immersion. You know, you get hit, the camera goes. No, I'm not buying it. That's not good. No.
Haze, the lighting effects, and lens flare from attacks from both the boss and the player that just really clutter up the whole thing. Certainly, this video's bitrate.
Like the look at this. I'm gonna do it again. No, not subtitles. Nope. Maybe it wasn't this one. Yeah, there is a little bit of camera shake. That's not so bad, like right here. But like right here, not right here, but like there's gonna be some lightning right here, and the camera is shaking. Like, for reference, use like, not so much the character, because the character's gonna be all fucking blurred out, but use like a line right here. Let me see. He's just walking. Where's that lighting? Okay. Look at like this line. Look how much that fucking your camera just got rocked. Like one more time. Oh, maybe that's too much. Right there. Bang! And the camera's like, ugh. It's like I'm watching a goddamn like a fucking an old school like phase headshot montage, and every time somebody does a quick scope, it shakes the camera, like boom, headshot, and the camera gets like all shook up. Transition, next one, boom, headshot, camera shakes the fuck out of the damn thing. It's like, oh wow, I'm so immersed. It's like, okay, back to normal.
Bitrate doesn't help much either. That's a bit of a mess. It's like the bitrate and the compression and processing that happened on YouTube. I don't know. This thing is like a blurry mess across the board. That doesn't help. But really, the lack of visual clarity and the visual clutter is partially due, mostly due to
what the fuck was that? Like a that was like a what do you call it? A Gears of War like reload thing? Like, oh shit, reload.
Stuff that's baked into the game, and I think this is another major sticking point for a lot of people. I mean, again, I look at parts of this boss fight and I'm like, what is happening? Like, you can barely see the boss a lot of the time with the lightning flares and the particle effects and the fog and the debris flying everywhere, and then the lens flare popping off the player's shoulder, and when they fire off attacks, and when the boss fires off the attacks, there's just this big heavy amounts of visual clutter. The camera being really close doesn't help that much much either. But yeah, as mentioned earlier though, I don't think it's all bad, and I do think many parts of the combat look perfectly fine, if not actually good.
Is every strike get a damn camera shake? Like, look at this one more time. I just noticed this.
I think many parts of the combat look perfectly fine, if not actually good. Particularly the play.
He gets hit, the camera gets shake. Bro, I can set my damn Yoo-hoo on top of this game, and either I strike or get strike. I could mix my damn Yoo-hoo on top of this thing, dude.
You're making attacks, the blocking, the shield slam. Like, yes, it could use a little more oomph. There's a kind of light.
Or was that like a throw?
Bro,
that bar, did he like throw his shield like Captain America? Like, wham! But it was like, you had that little loading bar like you're punting something away in like Madden or some shit. It's like, you want the perfect throw? You got to play this like little timing game. all the while, like, pay attention to the bar while keeping the boss in frame and watching your health, your stamina, any other moves that you're about to walk into, any fire you're about to walk into, and you better hope there's no enemies behind you. On top of it, now you're gonna watch this little loading bar and hope you can do the Captain America shield throw, and bang.
Get a more sense of weight would be nice, and I do think there was definitely some alignment issues, but this portion
He throws his shield. Captain America throws his shield like boom.
Gameplay a lot.
That is pretty cool. All right, if a lot of these older Souls-like games had like a Captain America shield throw, I'm not gonna lie, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Of those basic fundamentals of combat seems decent enough. Again, I really think the biggest issues and where a lot of these complaints are stemming from are mostly that floaty on ice feeling of the character movement, which just feels right in line with what I'm familiar with in Warframe.
Yeah.
That heavy amount of visual clutter, not helped with the camera being up so tight for parts of it. And then a few standout rough animations. There was some stiffness to the character, like the character sprinting speed. Funnily enough, I thought the jogging animation looked good, but once they went into a sprint, it's like it was a robot all of a sudden. That backstab animation completely whiffing. And there's a few others in there, like the character lining up attacks and like their feet sliding, but again, that kind of goes into the movement thing. And I do wonder, there's a connectedness between these two games, but they are running their own set of animations. They've got an entirely new animation system that they're using for movement and combat. The developer has talked about this, but clearly,
well, if they have their own separate animations, I think they're off to like a pretty good start, but it's not the finish line. We're like halfway in terms of like animation precision, because that's like I said this before, like another big part of a lot of these Souls-like games is the precision of the attacks and the precision of positioning within the movement of your character. Like I would say it's a way more skillful to be able to position your character when they have little things to like boost their velocity or dodging, and you have like a little bit of extra velocity.
Running on the same engine and I guess running off the backbone of Warframe, there is a big cross-pollination happening here, and that floatiness to the movement is one of the biggest, most obvious indicators of that here. Yeah. Because that looks just like a lot of the movement in Warframe with your character sliding all over the place, but it just kind of works in that game, right? I think because of the pacing, because of the speed. Now, that is the stuff that really stands out to me, the bigger issues, and where, again, I think a lot of the criticisms and complaints are coming from this gameplay showcase. Now, all that said, allow me to engage in a bit of copium here, okay? Partially because of DE's track record, supporting and updating Warframe for going on 12 years now, this game continues to be one of the most popular ongoing live service titles. It is consistently in the top 20 concurrent players on all of Steam. Yeah. Not bad for being over a decade old. That certainly goes without saying. But then also because I love so much of what they've shown, like beyond these issues with gameplay, pretty much everything else about the game I think looks great. The setting, the tone, and the world building. The characters, like that cute little turtle that we saw in the—
It's like Warframe does turtles. And you get this weird fucking thing. It's just like an alien cabbage patch, green cabbage patch inside of a conch shell.
The last gameplay showcase, the new Rat Queen, I think she's awesome, and your giant wolf companion, the style and appearance of the environment, like the player character and the NPCs. For me, a lot of the stuff, they've just knocked it out of the park. Like, so much about what they've shown of Soulframe is right up my alley. Like, can't wait to try this game out. But the gameplay is pretty much number one, top of the list of priorities of importance for me. So I am hoping that they take this feedback, that they improve on the issues that people are pointing out. But mainly, I just hope it actually feels good to play, because I want to make a note of this here. How a game feels when you play it versus how it looks in a video isn't always one for one. Throne and Liberty is a great recent example of it. Throne and Liberty is a great looking game. It is very pretty. Certainly, it's got pretty awesome looking animations, but boy, it feels pretty rough, like ranking amongst the worst feeling implementations of tab target I've played in an
didn't
MMO.
even play this game.
Heavy amount of clunkiness to that game, and just does not feel smooth at all. It's not very enjoyable compared to other iterations of tab targeting that I've played. So maybe Soulframe is the case where playing it feels great. It's not looking so great on these early gameplay showcases. Yeah. That is certainly a possibility. I think another thing to consider here is that it is still very early days for Soulframe. The game has, after all, only been in development for 2.5 2.5 years. We learned this shortly after.
Yep, keep cooking. Leave it in there. Put the meat probe in there. Make sure it's the right temperature. It's on track. All right, let it keep cooking. Let it keep cooking.
After Soulframe was revealed, when Steve Sinclair stated
Bro, was that like a shoulder-mounted like fucking turret?
Soulframe was revealed.
Look at this. You are playing as the Predator. Let me go. What is it? 1151. One more time. Playback speed. Quarter. Now you got this. Bro, again. Strike. Camera shake. Cut it out. Another strike. Another camera shake. Cut it out. And then this is pretty fucking cool, man. You're playing as Electric Predator. You got your little shoulder-mounted turret, bro, just going to town. And it's kind of funny because the backdrop is like castles and trebuchets, you know, and like weapon racks. And here's a fucking Space Ninja fucking turret right on your shoulder, dishing out electricity. And he's going to town. Like zap, 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 zap. Oh man, this is funny. Okay, normal.
Steve Sinclair stated that they had only been working on the game at the point of the reveal for roughly 6 months. So we're at 2.5 years. That is not a very long time as far as like game development timelines go, especially for games like this shared world MMO light live service game. Most of these spend 4 to 5 years in development before we actually see them in action, before we actually see like honest to goodness gameplay.
Yeah, but because this game has already been implemented in Warframe, they thought, you know, you do the initial first like Control-C, Control-V into like, okay, this is our new project. This is our base. It's already in Warframe. Then we're going to like tighten up the animations, fuck with the velocity, and, you know, mess with the what do you call it? The striking, the melee combat a little bit. They tweaked it for like 2.5-ish years, and then this is what we got. This is where we're at. This is pretty good. Not gonna lie, this is pretty good.
So 2.5 years in, I would.
Bro, the fucking shield. I think that's so cool. And I'm not sure if it came back. Like maybe you gotta like go fetch it. Like you throw your shield, it's like, you know how like Vega's Claw, like if you like throw that shit, it just like on the ground, it's like you gotta go get that shit. Or does it just come back to you?
Wouldn't say this looks all too bad. Now, we do know that timelines have been accelerated because they are building off of Warframe, but nevertheless, the point still stands. It's pretty early days for Soulframe. You could argue they shouldn't have showed it this early, but we can't argue that it's not still pretty early days. If we're looking at typical development timelines for video games, 2.5 years, it ain't much. I think part of what we're seeing here...
Oh, okay, so it hit the ground, and now it's coming back. So it's like, it's got its own cooldown.
Actually, it's just...
Bro, you're playing literally God of War with his fucking little axe thing that he like whips it out, and then he can just like, funk. That's pretty cool.
Digital Extreme's willingness to get players involved
Throw that shit
in the
again.
earlier stages of development. This is exactly what they did with Warframe. That game was very rough when it first came out, but many people still enjoyed the core foundation, myself included. And they've said that they were going to do as much again with Soulframe. When they announced it, they said, hey, we're going to bring people in pretty early. In fact, they have been running limited tests, which they call preludes, for several months now. People have been playing this game. These are essentially vertical slices of Soulframe to let a small pool of players test out and play around with some early systems and features. From what I've been able to tell, they've been testing like a very limited portion of the open world, some of the procedural dungeon systems, the event things like the event system where roaming bosses move around the world, and some character progression, but it is still very much a limited in
Warframe beaver. This just looks like a normal beaver. Why the turtle gotta look like an alien Cabbage Patch Kid inside of a brown conch shell, but the Warframe beaver looks like a regular ass beaver?
in its size and scope. Nobody's playing the entire game right now, I guess maybe except for the developer themselves. Now, during TennoCon, they announced that these Prelude tests will be going completely open to anyone who wants to try them sometime later this year. Now, that could be a mistake. After all, you only get one chance to make a good first impression, although I just get the sense that DE isn't much worried. Maybe that changes after the reception that they've gotten to this recent gameplay reveal, or maybe...
Can you just throw any weapon and just fucking like Thor it back to you? That's pretty cool. You could just be like fucking supremely pissed, and you're just like, yeah. You know what? I think I got the inspiration from this. You know how like a lot of Jedis have like a Jedi saber throw, and they're just like whipping that shit out, and they just like summon it back with the Force. They're like, well, we can't do the laser swords, but damn it, if we can do it with real weapons. I think that's cool, man. Being able to throw seemingly any weapon at your enemy and just summoning it back. That's pretty cool.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they're confident enough in where they're going to land with the end product that they are fine opening up testing for all, even if the game still has years of development left to go before it gets anywhere near a 1.0 release. I'll say though, regardless of how rough parts of the combat looked in this most recent video, I am still very keen to check out the game. There is a lot about what they're putting together here that I really like, and I think Digital Extremes does have a good track record in Warframe. At least it has for me as a player, a person who's come back over the years to check out all the new stuff. I mean, I spent some money like 8 years ago in Warframe. I bought some packs, some cash shop stuff, right? I bought some frames. But since then, I've pretty much not spent a dime in like 8 straight years, but I've still just about every year gone back and checked out all these updates for free, playing for a couple of weeks at the time. That's been pretty good for me. It's been a pretty good return on investment, right? I don't know what the hardcore player base thinks about Warframe nowadays, but I know for me, as a casual, as a revisiting player, I've quite enjoyed it. I like what they're doing with Soulframe. I like the premise, the tone, the setting they're going for. If they can nail the gameplay feel, despite how it might look in these gameplay videos, if they can nail the feel, polish it up, get everything else right, this could be another winner. It's certainly very appealing to me, just the general pitch of it, right? The general thing that they're presenting, I find very appealing. So if they can nail how it feels, the gameplay, and then the systems, features, the replayable content, the progression systems, that would be great. Hoping for the best. We will find out soon enough. Like we said, Soulframe Preludes testing will be open for all at some point in the coming months. And I'll be sure to report back in once I finally get my hands on the game. That does it for this video. Thank you all for watching. What do you think of Soulframe? What do you think of the recent reveal? And do you have any hope for the game going forward? Let me know. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.
Noise?
All right. So,
yeah. I mean, this is a good-ass video. And this is just like a... I think this is just like a good critique of the game. Some certain things to just polish the game up a little bit. I mean, unless you actually play the game, you don't really know how it feels. But I would argue that if you like Warframe movement, that even though the animations look wonky, if you go in and play this, you're probably going to like the movement despite it looking weird. That's what I would guess. But, you know, I mean, you saw the up thumb, down thumb ratio. So just a couple things to work on, I would take it. And, yeah, I mean, other than that, I think it looks good. I'm excited to see it. And if this is just like the halfway point, then it's only going to get better from here. But yeah, overall good video. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.